Hello and welcome to the session on Anaximans. Anaximandros of Miletus, 585 to 528 BC, was an ancient Greek pre-Socratic philosopher active in the latter half of the 6th century BC. One of the three Milesian philosophers, he is identified as a younger friend or student of Anaximander. Anaximandros, like others in his school of thought, practiced material monism. This tendency to identify one specific underlying reality made up of a material thing is what Anaximandros is principally known for today. Anaximandros is best known for his doctrine that air is the source of all things. In this way, he differed with his predecessors like Thales, who held that water is the source of all things, and Anaximander, who thought that all things came from an unspecified boundless stuff. While his predecessors, Thales and Anaximander, proposed that the arche, the underlying material of the world, were water and the ambiguous substance epeiron, respectively, Anaximandros asserted that air was this primary substance of which all other things are made. The choice of air may seem arbitrary, but Anaximandros based his conclusion on naturally observable phenomena in the process of rarefaction and condensation. When air condenses, it becomes visible as mist and then rain and other forms of precipitation. As the condensed air cools, Anaximandros proposed that it went on to form earth and ultimately stones. In contrast, water evaporates into air, which ignites and produces flame when further rarefied. While other philosophers also recognized such transitions in states of matter, Anaximandros was the first to associate the quality pairs hot, dry, and cold, wet with the density of a single material and add a quantitative dimension to the Milesian monastic system. Life and work. Like all pre-Socratics, little remains of the work by Anaximandros and little is known in regards to the details of his life. He is considered, after Thales and Anaximander, the third philosopher from what has come to be known as the Milesian school of philosophy, operating in the ancient Greek land of Ionia or present-day Turkey. Like his predecessors, Anaximandros was preoccupied with cosmology, searching for the world's origin, in which he is most known for his assertion that air is the most basic material and the source of all things. In addition to this main concentration, Anaximandros also made studies in meteorology. In the Milesian tradition, in which the members of the school are often referred to as being material monists, Anaximandros sought to articulate one particular substance as responsible for all things. This, of course, diverged from Anaximander, presumably the younger philosopher's teacher, who postulated the notion of epeiron as the origin of the cosmos. Anaximandros disagreed with this notion of an indefinite stuff and believed that there must be a particular substance, and that substance was air. Interestingly enough, this observation and understanding of air and its transformative properties actually positions his interpretation of the origin of the world in between that of Anaximander and Thales, the latter of whom considered water to be the essential element, rather than in direct opposition to either. Air is the nearest to an immaterial thing, for since we are generated in the flow of air, it is necessary that it should be infinite and abundant because it is never exhausted. For Anaximandros, air was the essential element because it was, like Anaximander's epeiron, neutral, and because it was infinite and always in motion. Air was everywhere, and everywhere it was transformable. It could transform into every other basic element and hence everything else in the world. And this notion was an empirical one for Anaximander. He based his election of air on the observable fact that it transforms, and his belief that it was the basic substance to transform into the other elements from which everything else could then be generated. Air, because it has such varying properties, is distinct and ideal as the candidate for an essential element according to Anaximenes. And as he postulated, it was due to the fact that it has an innate means for transformation that the element of air can produce, and thus produces everything else. In effect, everything exists from varying densities of air itself. When air is condensed, it becomes precipitation, then water, then earth, then stone. When air is rarefied, it becomes fire, which further rarefied becomes air, then wind, which can then precipitate again. Interestingly, the oppositional aspects of hot and cold are present as in the Milesian tradition, but not as outside forces or things. Anaximenes was very dependent, and even radically dependent, on empirical evidence, regardless of how substantial. In defense of his theory for air as arche, Anaximenes observed that when one blows air through one's mouth with pursed lips, the air is cool, as in the case with hot food. When one blows air through one's mouth with relaxed lips, the air is warm, as in the case of a sigh or when warming cold hands. Thus, hot and cold are present, yet are merely dependent upon the mode of transformation, condensation, or rarefaction. While empirical evidence was essential in Anaximenes' work, the less evidentiary notions of the divine remained apparent as well. Perhaps in line with early Greek literature that rendered air as the soul, as in the breath of life, Anaximenes relates air with God and the divine, according to the accounts of Aetius. The qualities of air that has similar attributes as the qualities of Anaximander Epeiron are those of the divine and the eternal. It is posited by Aetius and later by Cicero that there is a strong correlation between the notion of air as an basic principal element and the notion of air and breath as the divine and eternal substance of the soul and of God. Worldly and or otherworldly, Anaximenes applied his theory of air to the cosmos as well. In his thinking, air formed the earth through a process similar to that of felting, producing a flat disk that floated on air like a leaf. From evaporation, air was exhaled from the earth, rarefied, which enabled it to become ignited, producing the fiery celestial bodies of the stars. The moon and the sun were considered to be made up of air more condensed than rarefied, like earth. The sun's fire was believed by Anaximenes to be a product of its high-speed motion rather than its composition of air. The celestial bodies were understood as floating like earth and imagined like a felt cap that could be pivoted around the head. In Anaximenes' view, the sun's setting was not attributed to its passing under the earth, rather it was simply a case of it being obscured by higher parts of the earth's form as the sun pivots around it. Anaximenes elaborated on his theory to account for various other phenomena relating to more meteorological instances, from rainbows to earthquakes. Rainbows were considered to be the result of the rays of the sun touching dense condensed air, essentially clouds. The severance of clouds by winds was thought to produce thunder and the flash of lightning. Earthquakes, Anaximenes surmised, were caused by an abundance of evaporation, leaving the earth so dry it would crack, or the opposite, an abundance of moisture causing cracks in the earth's surface. He also provided a fairly accurate description of hail, frozen rainwater. In particular, Anaximenes was quite influential, being picked up by Heraclitus and critiqued by Parmenides. Anaxagoras will pull from his theory of materials, while Plato will come to admire his understanding of change. Whether directly related or not, Diogenes of Apollonia will consider air as the principal element in his monistic theory. While there are commentaries that claim Anaximenes and the Milesian school to be material monists, presupposing Aristotle, a more accurate understanding of the Milesian tradition concludes that this is not the case. Anaximenes and the Milesian school were preoccupied with discovering a particular element at the origin of the world, yet it was not sought for or understood with the complexity that resulted from Aristotle's metaphysics. It has been argued that the Milesian preoccupation with a singular basic material, stuff, was related more to a material issue of powers than to a metaphysical issue of what substance is and how transformation relies on continuing causal substances that gain and lose properties. The latter is considered too advanced and complex for the kind of thinking and theorization that the pre-Socratics engaged in. Yet Anaximenes, along with his predecessors, certainly paved the way for such thinking and philosophizing to occur. They are rather collectively the fathers of Western philosophy. Doctrine of air. Anaximenes seems to have held that at one time everything was air. Air can be thought of as a kind of neutral stuff that is found everywhere and is available to participate in physical processes. Natural forces constantly act on the air and transform it into other materials, which came together to form the organized world. In early Greek literature, air is associated with the soul, the breath of life, and Anaximenes may have thought of air as capable of directing its own development as the soul controls the body. Accordingly, he ascribed to air divine attributes. Given his doctrine that all things are composed of air, Anaximenes suggested an interesting qualitative account of natural change. Air differs in essence in accordance with its rarity or density. When it is thinned, it becomes fire, while when it is condensed, it becomes wind, then cloud. When still more condensed, it becomes water, then earth, then stones. Everything else comes from these. Using two contradictory processes of rarefaction and condensation, Anaximenes explains how air is part of a series of changes. Fire turns to air, air to wind, wind to cloud, cloud to water, water to earth, and earth to stone. Matter can travel this path by being condensed, or the reverse path from stones to fire by being successively more rarefied. Anaximenes provides a crude kind of empirical support by appealing to a simple experiment. If one blows on one's hand with the mouth relaxed, the air is hot. If one blows with pursed lips, the air is cold. Hence, according to Anaximenes, we see that rarity is correlated with heat, as in fire, and density with coldness, as in the denser stuffs. Anaximenes was the first recorded thinker who provided a theory of change and supported it with observation. Anaximander had described a sequence of changes that a portion of the boundless underwent to form the different stuffs of the world, but he gave no scientific reason for changes, nor did he describe any mechanism by which they might come about. By contrast, Anaximenes uses a process familiar from everyday experience to account for material change. He also seems to have referred to the process of felting, by which wool is compressed to make felt. This industrial process provides a model of how one stuff can take on new properties when it is compacted. Anaximenes used his observations and reasoning to provide causes for other natural phenomena on the earth as well. Earthquakes, he asserted, were the result of either of lack of moisture, which causes the earth to break apart because of how parched it is, or of superabundance of water, which also causes cracks in the earth. In either case, the earth becomes weakened by its cracks, so that hills collapse and cause earthquakes. Lightning is similarly caused by the violent separation of clouds by the wind, creating a bright fire-like flash. Rainbows, on the other hand, are formed when densely compressed air is touched by the rays of the sun. These examples show how Anaximenes, like the other Milesian philosophers, looked for the broader picture in nature. They sought unifying causes for diversely occurring events, rather than treating each one on a case-by-case basis or attributing them to gods or to a personified nature. Anaximenes' assumption that air is everlastingly in motion suggests that he thought it also possessed life. Because it was eternally alive, air took on qualities of the divine and became the cause of other gods as well as of all matter. The same motion accounts for the shift from one physical state to the air to another. There is evidence that he made the common analogy between the divine air that sustains the universe and the human air or soul that animates people. Such a comparison between a macrocosm and a microcosm would also permit him to maintain a unity behind diversity, as well as to reinforce the view of his contemporaries that there is an overarching principle regulating all life and behavior. The origin of the cosmos. Anaximenes regarded air as the first principle. Having concluded that everything in the world is composed of air, Anaximenes used his theory to devise a scheme that explains the origins and nature of the earth and the surrounding celestial bodies. Air felted to create the flat disk of the earth, which he said was table-like and behaved like a leaf floating on air. In keeping with the prevailing view of celestial bodies as balls of fire in the sky, Anaximenes proposed that the earth let out an exhalation of air that rarefied, ignited, and became the stars. While the sun is similarly described as being a flame, it is not composed of rarefied air like the stars, but rather of earth like the moon. Its burning comes not from its composition, but rather from its rapid motion. Similarly, he considered the moon and sun to be flat and floating on streams of air. In his theory, when the sun sets, it does not pass under the earth, but is merely obscured by higher parts of the earth as it circles around and becomes more distant. Anaximenes likens the motion of the sun and the other celestial bodies around the earth to the way that a cap may be turned around the head. Anaximenes, like Anaximander, gives an account of how our world came to be out of previously existing matter. According to Anaximenes, Earth was formed from air by a felting process. It began as a flat disk. From evaporations from the earth, fiery bodies arose, which came to be the heavenly bodies. The earth floats on a cushion of air. The heavenly bodies, or at least the sun and the moon, seem also to be flat bodies that float on streams of air. On one account, the heavens are like a flat cap that turns around the head. The stars may be fixed to this surface like nails. In another account, the stars are like fiery leaves floating on air. The sun does not travel under the earth but circles around it and is hidden by the higher parts of the earth at night. Like Anaximander, Anaximenes uses his principle to account for various natural phenomena. Lightning and thunder result from wind breaking out of clouds. Rainbows are the result of the rays of the sun falling on clouds. Earthquakes are caused by the cracking of the earth when it dries out after being moistened by rains. He gives an essentially correct account of hail as frozen rainwater. Most commentators following Aristotle understand Anaximenes' theory of change as presupposing material monism. According to this theory, there is only one substance, in this case air, from which all existing things are composed. The several stuffs, wind, cloud, water, etc., are only modifications of the real substance that is always and everywhere present. There is no independent evidence to support this interpretation, which seems to require Aristotle's metaphysical concepts of form and matter, substratum and accident, that are too advanced for this period. Anaximenes may have supposed that the stuffs simply change into one another in order. Influence on other philosophies. Anaximenes' theory of successive change of matter by rarefaction and condensation was influential in later theories. It is developed by Heraclitus and criticized by Parmenides. Anaximenes' general theory of how the materials of the world arise is adopted by Anaxagoras, even though the latter has a very different theory of matter. Both Melissus and Plato sense explanation of change. Diogenes of Apollonia makes air the basis of his explicitly monistic theory. The Hippocratic treatise on breaths uses air as the central concept in a theory of diseases. By providing cosmological accounts with a theory of change, Anaximenes separated them from the realm of mere speculation and made them, at least in conception, scientific theories capable of testing. Both Anaximander and Anaximenes were monists. They tried to explain diversity in terms of simplicity. To give a single explanation of a variety of different phenomena, Anaximander had a bold vision. He attempted to explain observable phenomena in terms of a single basic unobservable entity, the epeiron. Anaximenes replaces Anaximander's basic notion of opposition with that of a continuum of differences. Anaximenes' choice of air as the material substratum seems retrograde, a throwback to Thales. But there are advantages to Anaximenes' theory. Anaximenes' theory is closer to experience. It does not rely on unobservables. In Anaximenes' theory, there is at least a suggestion of trying to reduce qualitative differences to quantitative ones. In Anaximenes' theory, there is an actual theory to explain how the process of transmutation works. It is an attempt to explain the mechanism of change, to answer the question, how does change occur? Like Thales and Anaximander before him, Anaximenes sought an underlying reason for existence and natural phenomena without appealing to the tradition of supernatural deities as the first cause. Even though, like the other Milesians, he is never quoted as teaching atheism, there is nothing theistic in any of the extant fragments of his writings, nor in any of the references to him by ancient writers. According to Diogenes Lacertus, Anaximenes wrote in the pure unmixed Ionian dialect, and he lived according to the statements of Apollodorus. His influence is especially noticeable in the philosophy of the later writer Heraclitus. Let me summarize the session. Anaximenes was a practical man and a talented observer with a vivid imagination. His thought is typical of the transition from mythology to science. Its rationality is evident from his discussion of the rainbow not as a goddess but as the effect of sun rays on compacted air. Yet, his thought is not completely liberated from earlier mythological or mystical tendencies, as seen from his belief that the universe is hemispherical. Thus, his permanent contribution lies not in his cosmology but in his suggestion that known natural processes play a part in the making of a world. This suggestion, together with Anaximenes' reduction of apparent qualitative differences in substances to mere differences of quantity, was highly influential in the development of scientific thought. Now you can try to answer the questions given here. What are the ideas of Anaximenes about cosmos? How the doctrine of Anaximenes differed with his predecessors Anaximander and Thales. Explain the outer space and cosmos features of Anaximenes' philosophy. What are the contributions of Anaximenes to ancient Greek philosophy? Analyze Anaximenes' doctrine of air. Critically evaluate the Anaximenes' meteorological phenomena. Compare the ideas of Anaximenes and Anaximander. Hope that you may go through the reference books for further understanding. The Pre-Socratic Philosophers, written by B. Jonathan, published in 1982, published by Routledge and Kagan Paul in London. A History of Greek Philosophy, written by W. K. C. Guthrie, published in 1962, published by Cambridge University Press, Cambridge. The Pre-Socratic Philosophers, written by Schofield et al., 1983, published by Cambridge University Press, Cambridge. Anaximenes, written by W. George in 1993, published by Franz Steiner Wolg in Stuttgart. Explaining the Cosmos, the Ionian Tradition of Scientific Philosophy, written by D. W. Graham in 2006, published by Princeton University Press, Princeton. Conjectures and Refutations, The Growth of Scientific Knowledge, written by K. Popper in 1998, published by Routledge, New York. Thank you for watching this program. We can meet again with another topic. Have a nice day.